So Damian Lillard's been talking about staying loyal to one team, trying to win championships for them. Well, the thing with that, though, that people have to realize, and I think everyone knows this, everyone knows teams are very loyal to you if you're good. Teams are loyal to you depending on how well you play for them. If you're not good enough, they'll cut you. They'll get rid of you. They'll just look Golden State Warriors. They felt like Sean Livingston was no longer necessary for them to win championships, so they got rid of him. Andre Iguodala was traded away to Memphis because the Warriors felt like he wasn't necessary for their advancement. Teams will get rid of you based on your performance. So why should you not lead teams based on their performance? If they don't get the right guys in the off season, if they don't draft the right guys, why should you not cut teams? You are a part of that organization just like they are. Why do we hold players more responsible for leaving organizations and we don't give the same type of accountability to general managers, team presidents who could be drafting the right people, who could be signing the right people, and now granted, okay, yes, the big name schools, not the big name schools, the big name leagues when it comes to the Lakers, the Clippers, and stuff like that. Now with Kawhi, the Clippers have never really been big, but the fact is, the matter is, Kawhi potentially recruited Paul George to go with him to LA for the Clippers. And to be honest with you, Adam Silver has been talking a lot about recently trying to have some enforcement rules, because at the end of the day, a lot of these organizations are like, yo, this is pandering. This is pandering because we cannot sell these players because, and when I say sell, yeah, I said we cannot get these players to sign with us because at the end of the day, they've already made their decision because everybody knows each other. Everyone wants to play with each other. No longer, gone are the days where it's like, well, we're hardcore rivals and we're trying to beat you. We're not trying to join you. That worked well for the owners. That worked well for management. Now you got LeBron. People call him the GM. People call LeBron the GM because he did something that no one else in NBA history had done. Okay, he had decided to leave Cleveland to join a super team. Now, granted, you can't say totally he was the first one to do it, but he was the first superstar in his prime to do it. KG, Ray Allen, Paul Pierce, they were the first to do it, but they were a little bit past their prime. They were still good, but they weren't in the prime years. LeBron James was in his prime years when he left Cleveland to go to Miami. KG had been in Minnesota for years. Ray Allen was a part of different organizations for years. Paul Pierce was a part of losing teams for years. LeBron James, he was a guy who actually was winning games. He was such a dynamic player. He was winning games. He was going to NBA Finals. He was going to NBA Eastern Conference Finals all the time. He only went to one NBA Finals, but he went to several Eastern Conference. He was in the playoffs several times and was competing in the East for several years. And he was the first major superstar in his prime to do something like that. And ever since then, we've seen the KGs. Now we see the Kawhi Leonards. Now we see Paul George requesting a trade to go to LA. Now, granted, some could say, well, hey, look, you just chalk it up and say, hey, look, you're not going anywhere. But he could have a potential, AD situation where he just tries to force himself not to play basketball, or say he's injured in the whole issue with New Orleans not trading for AD, even though they still got a good deal. They ended up getting Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, all those guys, Josh Hart. So still good trade, but for me, I feel like now in today's era, I respect what Damian Lillard is saying, but at the end of the day, you also have to look at it as a business. And you got to realize, hey, look, these people, these business people, it's about money, it's about business. And you can be loyal, and people are loyal. But people are loyal to a fault. People are loyal to how well you can produce for them eventually. And so that's what I think Damian Lillard's got to realize. And maybe that's why he's getting all these major contracts. And maybe he's okay with being the guy who doesn't win multiple championships. Maybe he's the guy who people might not remember. But you know what? He experienced it. The people who he loves experienced it. And so maybe that's where he's coming from. So maybe you might not win the championships, Maybe he might not be on the cover of Sports Illustrated. Maybe he might not be on ESPN like LeBron James or Steph Curry is. But he was a great player in his era. He was clutch at times. He wasn't clutch at other times, but he was an NBA player who loved the game of basketball, who loved competition. And that's something that you can't take away. And some players are like that. And I think some people have to respect that even though we live in an era where people can recruit others, there's other people who want to stay with their team. So that kind of gives it the diversity of the league, I think. It's diversification. Not everybody abides to just joining super teams. And so I think that's what makes the league so special, because there's so many different ideologies and beliefs about teams and competition and everything. That's what makes the league great. That's all for Let's Talk Sports with Tim McCain. Peace.